What's up everybody, Slash here. Today we're going to be taking a look at a very fun and pretty good red deck. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. So, here we are. We have Android 13. Now, this deck is very good. It's definitely a good play for locals. It is somewhat competitive in a way, but there are just a lot of other better decks out there that can just last longer for your end game. But this is very good, and it's fairly cheap, except of course for the the unbridled power and the powers connection Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta Unison in general. But the rest of the deck is like dirt cheap. These cost cents now at the moment. It is a very cheap deck, and it is very strong. So let's start with just the leader in general. I'm not going to dive too deep into the cards. If you don't know it, I will have the link down in the description below so you can check it out for yourself and you can take a look at it. You can edit your own version of it as you please. But this is what I found that was most consistent that I've played for the past, well, almost a year now it feels like. So yeah, permanent, this card can't attack. That's fine. Switch this card to rest mode. Look at the top 5 cards at the top of your deck. Add up to 1 red android card among them to your hand. Shuffle your deck. So you can just add any android you want, which is super cool. Because you could even grab super combos, whatever you want. And then, of course, the other effect here to awaken is if your life's 4 or less, or you have 2 or more energy, and 1 or more Android 14 and 15 cards, both red with an energy cost of 1, in your battle area and or drop, you may switch this card to active mode, your leader, and you may switch an energy to active mode, go down to 6 lives, flip this card over. So on the awakened side it says, when this card attacks, choose one. Play up to 1 Android 14 or 15, both red with an energy cost of 1 from your hand. And the other ability choice is draw 1. So I do find that the draw 1 is pretty damn handy for later game too. And then we have this other effect here, which is place 1 Android card from your Z energy and its owner's drop. When you play a red Android card, add up to 1 Android card from your drop to your Z energy. So you're trying to recycle what Android you want in your Z energy. Because, for example, if you try to play this one, just to give you an idea, this says if your leader is red Android 13 and you have 2 or more energy and a red 15 is in your Z energy, then you can play this. So that's why you want to be able to use this effect to be able to switch around which ones you have. So to jump into the deck now, this is a bunch of 1-drops that we have here. These are just really great. You play them for 1 or for free, hopefully, if you can. And then either if your leader's a Z leader, you get to draw 1, or the other effect is grab the 14, which is this one from your deck to your hand. And same for this, vice versa for this one. Then, of course, this other 1-drop is going to help us get to our 7-drop, which is right here. And this will be, if you play it this way, where you pay 1 to play this, then pay another energy to use your Union Absorb, you can play your 7-drop from your deck on top of this card. And then, yeah, this one will become a dual attack, double strike, deflect, 25k. And it is so powerful to do that turn 3 to your opponent. It is very strong. And then, of course, we've got these. These become free-to-play counterattacks, which are great if your leader's a Z leader. And we'll get to the Z leader a little later, but it's very simple to do. And then we're running 4 copies of the blocker 15k. And the cool thing about how these cards work is it's an activate main/battle, limit 1. You pay 1 energy. If your leader's red, Android 13, you have 2 or more energy, and a red 15 is in your Z energy. Your opponent may choose 2 of their battle cards and have them get minus 20k power for the turn. If they don't, you get to draw 1 and play this card. So they're not going to choose 2 of their cards and minus 20k, of course. So then you get to play this card. And that's an extra draw for each turn, which is really handy. Also, you can do it during your opponent's turn. So it's very good. And then, of course, we're running 1 copy of these and 1 copy of these. And what they're doing is, if you want to play a 7-drop from your deck on top of this card, you don't have to just choose this card. You can also use one of these options. And this is a deflect triple attack. And then it has this effect here. If your leader is an Android 13 card, when this card attacks, your opponent chooses 1 of their battle cards and KOs it. And that's not once per turn. So you can KO 3 battle cards with this, which is very good for field removal. But you want to try and make sure you put it back in your deck. So if you see it in your hand, find a way to put it back in your deck. If not, it's just a dead card in hand. Then you've also got this. This is a 30k double strike, and you've got this ability down below. If your leader is an Android 13 card, and you choose 3 Android cards in your drop and place them at the bottom of your deck, there you go. In any order, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, KO it. Your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and places them in the drop area. So you're playing a red deck with hand destruction, which is very, very cool. And this card in general is also the same thing for your hand destruction. And you can't do this turn 1 though, because your unawakened side, you're a supercomputer, not an Android 13 leader. So until you awaken, then you can do this. But what this card is doing is, if your leader card is an Android 13, and you choose this card in your hand, and one Android 15 card in your hand, place them in the drop, choose up to 2 cards in your life, add them to your hand, and draw 1, regardless. Then your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and places in the drop. So you have hand destruction as a red deck. How cool is that? It's a very, very cool deck. 3 testing oppositions, that's more than enough. 1 Dark Broly, so we can get that easy removal to your opponent. We've also got 3 copies of this. This is the other version for the 3 cost card. This is a activate main/battle. If your leader is red, blah blah blah, your opponent may choose 2, or you get to draw 1 and play this card. And then this card would be a 20k for the battle, which is really cool. It's nice, but it's not great. That's why I run 3, but then 4 of these. And then we've also got this card. This is just a one-of. It's just a free draw 1. Place this card from your hand in the drop. If your leaders are Android 13, you draw 1. It's handy because you're adding another 14 or a 15 to your drop, which means you can help get your Union Absorb a lot quicker. And then we've also got 2 Toppos. It's just good for this deck in general. I was running other counters, just like the 1 cost or free-to-plays, but I did find that a lot of games I was like, damn, I wish I had a Toppo at that moment. And this is what that's for. Then yeah, your super combos, if you have 2 or more Z energy, you get to do this, or if you're a Z leader, you get to use this. Then of course, we've also got the promos. I'm thinking about going to 3. This is a pretty cool card. It's a 1 cost dual attack deflect. Of course, it's more or less the same as these things, where they choose 2 of their cards and minus it, or you get to play it, but you don't get to draw off this. It's still really cool though, because I usually use this to clear their battle cards more or less when they're playing beat sticks. Then yeah, we've got our Unison, of course, we know that by now. We've got our 1 Yamcha, that it's limited to 1, just handy to have it when you see it. And then Android 13 here. This is more for the Bono effect only. If your leader is a red Android 13, you place this card from your hand under a red Android card in your battle area. Return 1 Android card with an energy cost of 1 from your drop to your hand. So you're more or less trying to do that to get these back to your hand, if you're not seeing these often enough. And then of course we also have Dispos. Because we're plussing 2 with our Unison, we can use these as free counters. These saved my life so many times. You only have to Spirit Boost 2 and then you have a free counter attack. We're running 1 Trunks. I was running more before, but I just found that I lost a lot of space for better tech in general. But this is a cool card to have as well. You're pretty much, when you attack with a battle card, you're going to be plus 10k with that. So it's like half the super combo. And then our ultimate for choice, we're running this, but you can really run anything you like. I mean, you have so many options. You could even go Heron's Lineage for this. Then for the Z leader itself, this is a 1 cost Z Awaken, 4 or less life, which is nice that way. Same thing as the normal Awaken, which is when this card attacks, play a 14 or a 15, both red from your hand or drop. And then the other effect here is place 1 Android 13 and 14 and 1 15 from your Z energy in the drop. Draw 1. This card gets 5k and double strike for the turn. So that's pretty handy, but you're probably only going to use that maybe once per game on average. And then of course we also have the 14-15 here. This is a dual attack 15k blocker deflect with an additional effect down here below. But this can become a 1 cost if you have your 7 cost Android 13 on your field. Then we've also got 1 rush attack Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. And for side deck options, if you want more consistency of having a Unison on the board, you can also run the 1 Piccolo and then take something else out here, maybe Trunks or whatever you like. But yeah, this is more or less the list overall. So what you're trying to do for turns 1, 2, and 3 is turn 1, turn 2, you're trying to set up for your Awaken. You want to get a 14, 15, and a 13 into your Z energy as quick as you can. That way the rest of your deck will become live for later game. you want to try to play your Android 13, which there are multiple ways to do it. You have obviously the Union Absorb here, where you can pay 1 for playing this, or just get it for free play. Then you pay the 1 for the Union Absorb. The other way is from this effect, which is if your opponent has 3 or more energy, and you place 1, 14, and 15 from your battle area or drop, you can play this card from your hand. And then, of course, you don't have an Android 13 under it if you do it that way, so you don't get dual attack. But because of the villainous threat here from the activate main, you can place this card under your 13, which now means that you do have your dual attack. So for later game, you can still do that too. And then for turns like 3 and 4, you're more or less just going for your damage. You're playing some pesky things where you do hand destruction to them. You're trying to remove their cards on the field. You're going for your big attacks here where you can remove their field. It's just a good mid-range deck. It's very consistent, very strong. The Awakening is very easy to do as well. I highly recommend this deck. It loses a lot of strength when you take out the expensive things as the Unisons. But don't get me wrong, you can make this a legitimate budget deck if you take out the Unisons, and it will still work very well. There is also a other 1-cost red Unison you could use as a replacement for this, but in that case, I would just not run Unisons if I were to do it the other way, and just run more Trunks, because then you've got more just damage when they don't counter. So, this is the list. I hope you liked the video. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Thanks for watching. Peace.